Power begins where emotion ends. Most men are slaves, not to systems, not to women, not to enemies, but to their own impulses. They flinch, they rage, they react, and in that split second, they lose control. They hand their throne to the world, but not you. You're here to learn the art of emotional control, the highest form of self-mastery. You will learn to never react, only respond. 2. Turn your emotions into a weapon, cold, precise, lethal. This isn't about suppressing your humanity. It's about weaponizing it, because the calm man terrifies everyone. And when you move with calculated silence, you become untouchable. Comment below, I am my own weapon. Say it, write it, remember it. Because today, you stop being emotional and start becoming dangerous. Number 1, the power of silence and restraint. Silence is the first language of power. The weak fill the air with noise, excuses, explanations, desperate to be understood. The powerful understand that silence is understanding. When you stay quiet, you control interpretation. You let others project their fears, their desires, their insecurities onto your stillness. That's psychological warfare. The Machiavellian way. Every reaction reveals something. Every restraint conceals everything. The man who doesn't rush to respond terrifies the world because he's unpredictable, unreadable. In a world that rewards attention seekers, your restraint becomes rebellion. People fear what they can't define, and silence makes you undefined, a riddle no one can solve. When you master silence, you gain leverage in every interaction. Speak only when your words are strategy, never emotion. That's how kings speak, how predators hunt. Remember this, your silence isn't weakness. It's control disguised as calm. Comment below, my silence speaks louder than emotion. Let them wonder what you're thinking while you're already 3 moves ahead. Your power begins the moment you choose restraint over reaction. The quiet man always wins because the loud man is already exposed. Silence doesn't beg to be heard. It demands to be respected. Number 2, mastering the emotional battlefield. The mind is a battlefield and emotions are the landmines waiting to destroy you from within. Most men walk through life stepping on their own traps. Anger, jealousy, fear detonating every time someone presses the right button. That's not power. That's slavery. To master the emotional battlefield, you must become the one who plants the traps, not the one who triggers them. Control begins with awareness that every emotion has a purpose, but not every emotion deserves expression. The Machiavellian man studies his emotions like a scientist, not a victim. He observes his rage. He analyzes his fear. He measures his desire. Then he uses them strategically. You must learn to pause before you act, to breathe before you speak, to think before you move. That pause is your fortress. The emotional man reacts. The intelligent man calculates. The powerful man waits. Understand this. The world manipulates emotions because they're predictable. Politicians, lovers, enemies all play the same game. Provoke, observe, exploit. But when you refuse to react, their power collapses. You become unreadable, unshakable. This is psychological dominance, not through aggression, but through composure. You win not by shouting, but by standing still while others crumble under their own volatility. Emotions can't be killed, but they can be trained. You make them your soldiers, not your rulers. You direct your anger into focus, your pain into persistence, your envy into ambition. The man who controls his emotions controls his destiny. So when chaos surrounds you, remain still. When insulted, smile. When tested, calculate. Because the one who controls his emotional temperature controls the temperature of every room he enters. Comment below, my emotions serve me, not control me. Say it with conviction. Every repetition programs your mind deeper into power. Remember, emotional control isn't suppression, it's strategy. The world bows to those who never flinch. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be obeyed. Number 3, the calculated mind. Power does not belong to the strongest man. It belongs to the most calculated. The man who can think clearly when everyone else is drowning in emotion becomes the architect of outcomes. Calculation is the Machiavellian's greatest weapon. It is the difference between those who react to life and those who design it. Every move, every word, every silence must be intentional. You are no longer allowed to act out of impulse. You are to observe patterns, read behaviors, and predict responses. When you think strategically, chaos becomes predictable and people become transparent. The world becomes a chessboard and you become the player who never blinks. Calculation doesn't mean hesitation. It means precision. You strike when the timing serves you, not when emotion commands you. Patience is not weakness, it's preparation. The masses move fast because they crave relief. The elite move slow because they crave results. A calculated man studies people not to imitate them, but to manipulate the rhythm of interaction. He mirrors when needed, contradicts when strategic, and withdraws when it creates tension. Every gesture is data. Every reaction is leverage. Most men reveal their hand in the first 5 minutes of conversation. The calculated man reveals nothing. He lets others expose themselves. You must learn to detach emotionally from outcomes. Desire clouds vision. Fear distorts reason. Detachment allows precision. When you remove emotion, you see the truth, and truth gives you the upper hand. The man who calculates sees 5 steps ahead and feels nothing about it. He just moves forward relentlessly. This is the cold power psychology of the strategist. Comment below, "My mind is my weapon." Let the world hear it echo, because when you train your mind to calculate, you no longer chase control, you become it. The calculated man doesn't chase victory. He designs it slowly, silently, ruthlessly. In every room, he's already won before anyone knows a game even began. Number 4. Detachment, the armor of power. Detachment is the armor of kings. It is the invisible shield that makes you immune to manipulation, chaos, and betrayal. Most men crumble because they are too attached to people, to validation, to outcomes. Attachment blinds you. It makes you predictable. When you care too much about how things unfold, you give the world a map to your emotions. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means clarity. It means you see the battlefield without fog. You act without hesitation because your judgment is no longer clouded by hope or fear. The Machiavellian mind understands that caring is currency, and the one who cares less always controls the one who cares more. This is not cruelty. It is efficiency. Power requires emotional distance. You cannot lead, negotiate, or dominate while entangled in sentiment. You must be above it, observing, not drowning. Detachment is the art of watching without reacting. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't flare up, you watch their intent. When a deal falls apart, you don't panic. You analyze the lesson. When people leave, you don't chase. You adjust your strategy. This calm indifference terrifies the emotional world because it cannot control what it cannot influence. The detached man is dangerous because he is free. You cannot blackmail a man who has detached from approval. You cannot threaten a man who has detached from loss. He moves like smoke, untouchable, unbothered, unstoppable. You must train yourself to see emotion as data, not identity. When something triggers you, dissect it. Ask, why does this bother me? Then strip the answer of ego. Detachment gives you that power, the ability to feel everything yet be owned by nothing. Understand this. Emotional detachment is not the absence of passion. It's the discipline to direct passion with precision. It's the difference between fire burning a house and fire forging steel. Choose to forge. Choose to channel your energy toward what serves your long-term strategy, not your temporary feelings. Comment below. I feel everything, but nothing controls me. Let that phrase burn into your subconscious. Because when you master detachment, you don't just survive betrayal, chaos, or manipulation. You turn them into weapons. And that's when you stop playing the game and start owning it. Number 5. Emotional alchemy. Turning pain into power. Pain is the greatest raw material of Transformation, but only the rare few know how to refine it. The weak drown in it, the average numb it, but the Machiavellian mind, he uses it. Pain is not your enemy. It's the forge that builds your dominance. Every betrayal, every failure, every humiliation is data carved into your psyche. You are meant to extract lessons, not scars. Emotional alchemy is the process of transmuting suffering into strength, despair into drive, rejection into redirection. The world feeds on comfort, but comfort breeds softness, and softness kills. Ambition. To master emotional alchemy, you must stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "How can I weaponize this?" That question alone separates the rulers from the ruled. Pain is information. It shows you where you're weak, where your ego still bleeds, where your identity still depends on external validation. The Machiavellian man doesn't run from pain. He studies it with cold fascination. He lets it burn away delusion until only truth remains. You must understand your emotions are not obstacles, they are instruments. Anger can be fuel. Sadness can be focus. Betrayal can be liberation. When you redirect emotional energy into strategy, you become unstoppable. Emotional alchemy demands that you stop reacting to pain and start mastering it like a craftsman refines his metal. When life hits you, don't flinch, observe. Don't resist, adapt. Don't pity yourself. Plan. Every hardship you endure is a test of your emotional discipline. Those who react impulsively destroy themselves. Those who respond intelligently rise from the ashes sharper, colder, more strategic. The man who learns to convert pain into power becomes indestructible because nothing external can penetrate his core anymore. He has built himself from the very stones others threw at him. This is dark psychology at its purest, using adversity to engineer superiority while others crumble in emotion. You crystallize into precision. Comment below, "My pain is my power." Write it like an oath. Because once you embrace pain as your teacher, nothing can defeat you. Not loss, not failure, not betrayal. You become the alchemist of your fate, the commander of your emotions, the master of your mind. Power doesn't come from avoiding suffering. It comes from sculpting it into strength. Every time you endure and evolve, you become less human, more force. Remember, steel is born in fire, so let your pain burn you into something unbreakable. Number 6, the psychology of cold power. Cold power is the ability to dominate without raising your voice, to influence without force, and to destroy illusions without showing emotion. It's the quiet, unnerving authority that doesn't come from physical strength or social validation, but from complete self-command. A man with cold power doesn't react. He observes, calculates, and decides the terms of engagement. His calmness is not weakness, it's control. His silence is not hesitation, it's analysis. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't argue, he enforces reality. This is the psychology of those who rule not through fear, but through precision. The world mistakes coldness for cruelty, but in truth, coldness is clarity. When you strip emotion away from action, you see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. That's what gives you the edge. Most people are trapped in emotional chaos. They need to feel powerful to act powerful. But cold power doesn't need to feel anything. It simply is. The Machiavellian mind knows that control is perception. People only respect what they can't easily read or manipulate. When you master stillness, your presence becomes magnetic, your words heavier, your gaze commanding. Every gesture becomes intentional, every silence strategic. That is psychological dominance, making others second-guess themselves while you remain unshaken. Cold power doesn't react to provocation. It studies it, stores it, and uses it later. You don't let anger dictate your actions. You turn it into leverage. You don't let praise inflate your ego. You measure the motive behind it. You must learn to observe human behavior like a chessboard. Everyone is playing a role. Some seek validation, others seek control. Most seek distraction. Your job is to remain detached, to play your role, with awareness, not attachment. The emotional man is predictable. The cold man is a paradox. People can't tell if you're friend or foe, and that uncertainty grants you leverage. It's not about being heartless. It's about being disciplined enough to separate emotion from execution. When you make decisions without emotional distortion, you become dangerous because your motives can't be exploited. You start seeing the subtle patterns of manipulation, flattery, guilt, urgency, pity. You see them for what they are, emotional hooks, and you remain unhooked. That is the essence of cold power, to walk through emotional traps untouched. You don't fight emotions with emotions. You neutralize them with logic and distance. You let people think they've won while you orchestrate outcomes from the shadows. Cold power also lies in patience, the willingness to wait without anxiety. The powerful man understands that timing is often more valuable than action. He knows when to speak and when to vanish, when to engage and when to withdraw. He never reveals his plan. He reveals results. He never begs for loyalty. He inspires it through presence. This is not arrogance. It's calibration. Every move you make should project calm certainty, not reactive energy. The moment people sense you're emotionally stable, they begin to orbit around you. Stability is rare. Predictability is power. Cold power is the ultimate form of emotional control. It's the fusion of stoicism and strategy. You are unmoved by chaos, untouched by praise, unfazed by opposition. You remain the same, grounded, deliberate, unreadable. The world tries to provoke emotion to break your focus. But when you stop responding to noise, noise stops controlling you. Remember, indifference is the ultimate weapon. When you can look at chaos and remain calm, you've already conquered it. The cold man doesn't compete. He observes, learns, adapts, and quietly takes over. He doesn't need to be seen. His results make him undeniable. Comment below, "My calm is my control." Let that phrase define you, because the calm man governs the storm. People fear what they can't emotionally sway. That's your advantage. Cold power is not about aggression. It's about presence, posture, and poise. It's the discipline to let others reveal their weaknesses while you maintain your strength. You don't shout. You don't plead. You don't explain. You simply act and let silence speak louder than emotion ever could. Master cold power and you'll never need to demand respect. Your very stillness will command it. Number 7, the Machiavellian command: control without force. True control is never about domination through brute force. It's about invisible influence, subtle manipulation, and psychological precision. The Machiavellian command is the art of controlling outcomes without appearing to. It's the power to steer emotions, decisions, and alliances while maintaining the illusion of neutrality. This is control without force, and it begins in the mind. Most men seek obedience through fear or authority, but fear fades and authority can be challenged. Influence, however, true psychological influence seeps into the subconscious and molds behavior from the inside out. The Machiavellian man does not demand. He engineers. He understands that people obey not the loudest voice, but the one that echoes within their desires. He studies what drives others: validation, greed, love, recognition, and uses it as leverage. You must learn to master human motives. To control someone, you don't fight their nature. You guide it. You make them believe your will is their own. That is the highest form of control. To make obedience feel like freedom, the Machiavellian command requires patience, observation, and emotional detachment. You must be able to read the unspoken, the micro-expressions, the hesitation in tone, the flicker of insecurity. Every word someone speaks is a window into their mind. And when you can read minds, you can lead them without resistance. The key is to never reveal your intent. People resist being controlled, but they crave being understood. So understand them deeply, and they'll follow your direction willingly. Influence begins with perception. People will see in you what you project. If you project certainty, they will defer to your confidence. If you project mystery, they will seek your approval. If you project calm dominance, they will instinctively submit. That's dark psychology, manipulation through presence. A Machiavellian doesn't argue, he frames. He doesn't fight for control. He designs the environment so that control is the only outcome. When you know what people want, you hold the strings. A loyal friend can be swayed by gratitude. An ambitious rival can be guided by ego. An insecure opponent can be broken with silence. Control is not one-dimensional. It's emotional engineering. You must learn when to reward, when to withhold, when to disappear. Your absence can create more influence than your presence if timed correctly. This is how kings move, not by shouting orders but by aligning incentives. People will betray their own principles if you make them believe they're fulfilling their desires. Remember, manipulation is not always malicious. Sometimes it's necessary. Civilization itself is built on the manipulation of order from chaos. Control without force requires that you never let anyone see you lose composure. The moment you react emotionally, you expose your center. Always remain calm, curious, and calculating. When someone tries to provoke you, watch them, study them, and use their reaction as a map to their weaknesses. Because once you know what triggers a person, you own them. Comment below. I control by staying calm. Let it become a mantra. Because control without composure is illusion. The Machiavellian command is cold, quiet, and constant. You don't need to prove your dominance. You radiate it. Every word, every glance, every silence becomes part of your design. Power doesn't announce itself. It's felt. The true leader isn't the loudest. He's the one whose influence lingers when he's gone. When you walk into a room, you should never chase attention. Make attention chase you. When you speak, speak slowly. When you move, move deliberately. When you decide, decide without hesitation. These are the markers of command. The man who can remain emotionally composed while everyone else burns is the man who decides the outcome of the fire. Influence the emotions of others, but never let them influence yours. This is control without force, the quiet power that bends the world without ever appearing to touch it. Number 8, the shadow of influence, the power of perception. Perception is the currency of power, and those who control it shape reality itself. The Machiavellian man understands that the truth is irrelevant. If people believe something else, power is not about what is real. It's about what is perceived as real. You could be strong, wise, and disciplined, but if the world perceives you as weak, you will be treated as weak. On the other hand, if you project control, composure, and confidence even when you're uncertain, the world bends to that illusion. The key is understanding that humans don't respond to facts. They respond to signals. Every glance, every tone, every gesture you display either amplifies or diminishes your perceived dominance. The power of perception is the art of managing impressions deliberately, not accidentally. Most men are too transparent. They expose their emotions, their insecurities, their ambitions, thinking authenticity will earn them respect. But authenticity without restraint is self-sabotage. You must decide what parts of yourself the world deserves to see and what remains hidden behind the mask. The Machiavellian doesn't fake who he is. He curates what others are allowed to know. This is not deception, it's defense. Transparency is vulnerability, and vulnerability is leverage in the wrong hands. The man who understands perception plays life like theater. Every environment becomes his stage, every person his audience, every expression a calculated cue. When you master your image, you control how others interpret your silence, your words, and your absence. You become a mystery, and mystery breeds respect. People fear what they cannot predict, and they trust what they cannot fully understand. You must appear confident but never desperate, intelligent but never arrogant, detached but never indifferent. Balance is your camouflage. The art of influence lies in making others feel something while you remain unaffected. You don't tell them what to think. You create conditions that lead them to think it themselves. The shadow of influence is subtle. It lingers in their perception long after you leave the room. This is how power operates. Without noise, silently, psychologically, relentlessly, always. Remember, reputation is more valuable than truth. Guard it, shape it, weaponize it. When you walk, walk with purpose. When you speak, let every word carry weight. When you listen, make others feel seen. When you smile, let it be rare. Rarity increases value. Never let anyone know your next move. Predictability is the death of mystique. Even your kindness should feel strategic, not impulsive. The world watches more than it listens, and in that observation, they define your worth. You must project the aura of inevitability, that quiet certainty that whatever happens, you remain composed, untouched, and always in control. People trust the image of strength far more than the reality of it. Your job is to embody that illusion so consistently that it becomes indistinguishable from truth. Comment below, I am the perception they fear. Let it anchor into your psyche. Because when perception bends around you, reality obeys. The man who controls how others see him controls how they treat him, how they think, how they act. That is psychological dominance in its purest form. The ability to shape emotion through suggestion, to direct thought without command, to influence fate without force. The shadow of influence doesn't shout. It whispers, it moves unseen but felt, silent but heavy. And when you master that, you no longer chase power. Power chases you. Number 9, the discipline of control, the war within. The greatest battle is not waged against others, it's fought within your own mind. Mastering emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about commanding them like an army that serves your will. Every man who seeks power must first conquer himself. The undisciplined man is his own executioner. His impulses betray him before his enemies ever can. Discipline is the difference between chaos and command, between noise and precision. You must train your mind to obey you under pressure. When your emotions rise, you do not flinch. When temptation whispers, you do not listen. You stand firm, grounded in reason, unmoved by distraction. The Machiavellian mind knows that discipline is freedom, the freedom to act intelligently rather than instinctively. Every time you resist an impulse, you sharpen your control. Every time you delay gratification, you strengthen your will. The world is filled with men enslaved by emotion, chasing validation, lust, greed, and attention. They live reactive lives, pulled by invisible strings. But you, the disciplined man, cut those strings and move with deliberate intent. You don't chase comfort, you hunt control. You wake early, not because you have to, but because you choose to. You train your body to obey because the body follows the mind. You learn to suffer in silence because strength doesn't speak. It endures. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about power. When you can command yourself, no one else can. The Machiavellian man treats his emotions as tools. He deploys them when useful and locks them away when not. He doesn't get angry. He uses anger to focus. He doesn't get afraid. He uses fear to prepare. He doesn't crave approval. He uses rejection to grow sharper. Discipline gives you distance from chaos. You stop taking things personally because you realize that emotional reactions are traps designed to distract and disarm. The disciplined man is unreadable, his tone steady, his movements minimal, his eyes calculating. You can't provoke him. You can't manipulate him. You can't defeat him because he's already defeated himself, his weaker self. This war within never ends. But each victory over impulse expands your power. Self-control isn't a momentary act. It's a lifelong identity. It's what separates leaders from followers, predators from prey, kings from clowns. Comment below, I conquer myself daily, because that's the truth of mastery. The enemy outside can only win when the enemy inside is undisciplined. You don't need to dominate the world. You need to dominate your own reactions, and the world will follow your lead. The man who commands his emotions becomes a fortress, impenetrable and respected. His calm breaks the loud. His Patience defeats the rash, and his silence outlasts the arrogant. Discipline is not glamorous, it's cold, consistent, and absolute, but it's the foundation of power that never fades. Control your urges, guide your emotions, refine your responses, and you'll rule where others kneel. Number 10. The untouchable mind. Ascending beyond emotion. To become untouchable, you must transcend the emotional realm entirely. Not by escaping it, but by mastering it so completely that it no longer dictates your reality. The untouchable mind is the final stage of evolution in the Machiavellian mindset. It is calm under chaos, unshaken under betrayal, and focused amid destruction. The world will always test you with provocation, manipulation, temptation, and loss. But your response defines your supremacy. The man who reacts gives his power away. The man who responds commands the battlefield. To be untouchable is to understand that nothing external truly belongs to you. Not money, not love, not reputation. The only thing that can never be taken is your internal state. Guard it like a fortress. Every insult, every loss, every challenge is an opportunity to practice control. You are no longer a man who seeks validation or revenge. You are a strategist who moves with purpose and detachment. Your mind becomes your empire, and every thought within it obeys your will. The untouchable man doesn't need to prove power. He is power, composed, quiet, deliberate. He walks through life like a ghost wrapped in discipline, unbothered by the chaos of lesser men. To reach this level, you must release the need to be liked, understood, or approved. You must become comfortable being misunderstood, feared, even hated, because greatness and comfort cannot coexist. True power isolates, but within that isolation you find absolute clarity. You see people not as enemies or allies, but as pieces in a larger design. You no longer chase outcomes. You attract alignment. You no longer seek peace. You embody it. Comment below, "I am untouchable." Let it be your declaration of psychological sovereignty. Because once you realize that emotions are just weather passing through your mind, you stop building houses in storms. You build fortresses above them. The untouchable mind is forged through pain, refined by discipline, and sustained by purpose. Every challenge you survive makes you colder, sharper, calmer, until nothing can break your composure. You become the eye of the storm, silent, centered, unstoppable. And when the world finally realizes it can no longer control you, it will have no choice but to respect you. Remember, never react, only respond. Never chase, only attract. Never speak to prove, act to demonstrate. You are now Machiavellian, and therefore you are free. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because power belongs to those who stay in control.